Today's video, we're going to talk about why website redesign projects are always late, or when you're adding features to your website and having to hire either a freelancer or a programmer team or agency or firm that does programming of websites or makes websites. And the reason for this in general, as I'm going to cover here, is because people aren't honest. Okay, on both sides of the aisle. The person requesting to get their website redesigned and the firms themselves, okay? The reason why I'm making this video, because I primarily just talk about online advertising here on this channel, because that's what our firm does. I talk to business owners all the time, and of course, website redesign projects are affecting our ad campaigns every single time they happen, because we gotta work our way around where we're sending the traffic. The website update will affect our PPC results, short-term or online, wherever we're running ads. And then, because of that, the client, if they're smart at least, will tell us in advance of doing the website project and update, so we can work around everything we're gonna have to do in terms of repointing landing pages to different URLs, or work around the results so we know why the results are going down and so forth, okay? But what happens is, when the client says, hey, the website redesign is gonna happen in 8 weeks, just to let you know, I say, I don't say anything like, yeah, right, but the reality is, it ain't gonna get done in no 8 weeks. And that is because people are not honest with each other. And in general, I'm going to explain why that specifically is from a business standpoint and what you actually need to do if you want to get stuff done on time, okay, specifically. Because I understand the website design business, and I understand having an e-commerce site, having a website that needs to be redesigned, because I've actually been on both sides of the fence here, okay? Just from the standpoint, I own other e-commerce businesses in addition to our PPC/online advertising agency, and I've also, of course, ran an agency, which in the past, before I started this agency, we worked for an agency that did website design as well on top of it. So with all that said, I will talk about the details here. And of course, we make landing pages, which is sort of like redesigning a website. I'll talk about all these things so you know, going into any next project, what you should expect, okay? Before I get into the content here though, if you do not know who I am Corey Zyman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for their clients. That is, we do not charge our clients management fees until we get them a certain minimum lift in the profitability up front, in excess of the management fee, and we're the only agency out there actually doing anything of the such. So with that said, getting into the content here, the average amount of time it actually takes for websites to be finished that I deal with at our agency, and we have like 50 clients at any given time, or plus or minus, is 3 to 6 months. Even for simple website design updates, or should I say simple websites that are needing to be redesigned. More so 6 months if you're talking about an e-commerce site redesign, okay? Which sounds like a long time. And if you were to hear that when you want to get your website updated, it's going to take 6 months, you may say, oh, I don't want that. That's way too long. I'm going to go find somebody who says they could do it in 2 months. Even though you could have done this a year ago, but you waited to the last second. Now you expect everybody to just be able to get it done instantly. There's many reasons why that's going to fail. The time that the agency is going to tell you that it takes, or freelancer, but it's worse with agencies, is 3 times the time that they're going to say it's supposed to take. So if they say it's going to take 2 months, expect 6. If they say a month, expect 3 months, which sounds absurd unless you've actually been through it itself. The exception would be if you have employees doing this work for you and you're a big enough company to have your own web design team, and then that wouldn't be the case. But it's still going to run over, and instead of being a 3x difference, it's going to be a 1.5x difference. All right, and the reason for this is pretty simple. Okay, so why this is first of all, it's because clients can't handle hearing the actual time it takes to do anything. This is the case in all businesses. I got clients who run e-commerce companies. I run e-commerce sites myself, like I mentioned, but I'm not on the phone. And anybody who answers the phone at an e-commerce company, person bitches and moans and whines why they can't wait 3 days to get their product. It needs to happen in 1 day. they can't get it in one day, they ain't buying. And not everybody does this, but there's too much of this going on. The expectations are through the freaking roof on some of this stuff. As it comes to website design, people expect it to get done right away as if it's a simple thing. Making a website is a very, very complex thing because we're not just talking about pretty pictures on a screen here. The website's got to convert. You got to be able to plan very, very well, or your website, when it's all said and done with, is it going to convert better than the original website? Or it's going to be buggy, or both. So what do the website design agencies do out of needing to survive? They lie to clients about how long it's going to take. They know there's a lot of wild cards that come up. When you're redesigning all the features on your site to keep those features on the new site, you have to investigate the features. You're not going to be able to fully investigate them until you really spend, 10, 20 hours looking through all the code, whatnot. And of course, the client's not going to pay you to audit it at that level before the website design is done, because that would cost another $3, $4, $5 grand. And they're not going to want to pay that. You go into it sort of blind. And then when you get into it and you find some rat's nest in there that you have to deal with, you're stuck dealing with it, and it's just going to make the project longer. Okay, but in general, even if nothing like that happens, it just takes a long time to do a website design. There's a lot involved, and clients don't want to hear it. Partially, they don't know how complex it is. They just think, oh, you're just painting a pretty picture, then you're putting it on the screen, oh, it's done. Of course, the pretty picture has to be thought through all the way, inside and out, to make sure the conversion rate is there when it's done. If they actually give a damn about your conversion rate, which most of the agencies out there don't, by the way. But then they have to code it so it looks identically the same as the picture that they're giving you on the mock-up of what it's supposed to look like. And that in itself takes a long time, because you have to measure every freaking thing compared to every other freaking thing on the page. If you got this form here, it has to be exactly this much pixels, from so many pixels from the top of the page, so many pixels from the left side of the page, so many pixels from the bottom of the page, and every element on the page has to be perfectly oriented and using web code. It's not drag and drop. You have to code it in HTML to make this happen. And frankly, most programmers that you hire, 9 out of 10 of them, they ain't going to be able to make it look identically the same as what the designer made on your mock-up, because it's not easy. / it's time consuming, and people are lazy and they just want to get paid, and they don't give a shit if your site doesn't convert, or if doesn't care. They don't care if the site doesn't look like the original mock-up. I have to personally try different people out before I can find a guy who can do this, which is why when a client needs some specific feature on their site fixed, I usually let them use our guy, because most people are going to screw this up, and then the site isn't going to convert the same when they're done. Then our ads are affected. So with that said, and then the other thing to mention here is there is no penalty to be late. So I don't want to make this sound like I'm just shitting on clients out there. The agency can be late, and they know that saying it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. Well, once you're already into a web design redesign project, trust me, clients do not want to switch to another agency. They don't. And I know this because when clients design a shitty website that I say is not going to convert as well as the old one, and you can't use this, the default thinking is, we're going to use this website. I work too hard to make this website. Like the value of the website is in how much time you spend on it. That's the most childish, idiotic thing you could possibly say. But then, they have to see their sales crater before they'll admit their website wasn't good and they hired a person and they got scammed, which is absolutely don't want to do that. So website design companies will just say, okay, it's 8 weeks, knowing it's going to be 5 months. They do it, know it, and you're going to get into it, and you're not going to admit you're going to get scammed or got scammed, and they're just going to say, well, how much longer is this going to take? And then they're going to say, give us 3 more weeks. And then once that 3 weeks is up, why isn't it done? Oh, this came up. We just need 3 more weeks. And they're just going to keep doing that until the 5 months is up they originally needed to do the damn website in general. So it's not like a construction contract which might not be a bad idea for you, by the way, knowing what I'm telling you here now. That if you're going to design a website, you say that there's a penalty for every day that it's late. The problem with that, though, is like actually in construction, where there's penalties, like there's a fine for every day that a project's late, is that all that happens is the project managers are going to say, we need this done by a certain date, get it done. And the staff are just going to take a bunch of shortcuts to get it done. You're going to foundation on your project when you're said and done with. So you don't want to force them to get it done in a certain time frame because they're just going to make it extra shitty. And again, if it isn't over a certain minimum threshold of quality, it won't convert better or as good as your original project, and you wasted all your money. So you kind of like have to play ball with them. And the agency knows this, and they also know that you don't want to wipe all your losses out by switching agencies, because the new agency is going to want to make their own website with their own web coding, not fix a website, mostly. And so you're stuck once you're in it. Once you've signed, you're stuck. On top of this, there's usually a line of people before you. Even if you're talking about freelancers, you could hire to make your website design. So, or redesign your website. That is, people don't think about this, but website design companies are just like anything else that require professional services, professionals. Such as if you're going to hire a back specialist at your hospital, usually it's going to be, any good doctor is going to be booked out for like 6 weeks. You got to book it 6 weeks in advance. Well, when you sign a contract saying you need your website done, they're not sitting around waiting to start your project, because if they did that, they'd be so inefficient, the cost of the website would have to be so expensive that you wouldn't want it anyway. So they take your project on, just like an auto body shop. You see all the cars parked outside because they're going to take that job on because they need to be able to at all times have a queue to keep all their guys busy constantly. And it's just a matter of how long the queue is. The website design world is exactly the same way. And that queue easily is going to be weeks, if not months. So they're going to take your project on. They're going to say they're working on it. And a lot of times they're not going to even start your project for a month, when the current big project they're working on is being finished up, or the current couple they're working on. So there's going to be a delay before they even start on your project. You could fix this a little bit if you're working with a freelancer, where you could say, hey, do you have stuff you're working on right now? When's the next time you're going to have an opening? Can you let me know? We'll redesign this website. Then it'll cut down. But for the most part, there's no benefit to doing that. You just want it done fast. So there's no benefit to doing that. So anyway, with that said, and by the way, I talk about practical business level advice as it comes to web marketing, specifically having to run advertising campaigns and make them make money on this channel. Nobody else is talking about this stuff because they're afraid of pissing people off. If you want real advice about how to make money with advertising and the stuff that surrounds it, that you need to be successful, you want to subscribe to this channel, because that is exclusively what I cover on this channel. And it comes from somebody with 20 years of online marketing experience, 10 plus of which I just ran an advertising firm, working with dozens of clients at any given time. So you're getting real advice straight from the source here. I spend 40 hours a week doing ad strategy at our firm as my full-time job, and then share what I know on the weekends. So you're getting really information straight from the horse's mouth on how all this stuff works. So if you are serious about making money with ads, you want to subscribe to this channel. You also want to check out my blog while you're at it at guaranteeppc.com/blog. You can find all the strategies that I'm using for clients to guarantee the results, with step-by-step instructions, with the screenshots, everything you need to be able to use those strategies for yourself. So anyway, with that said, check that out as well. And if you have any questions about anything I'm sharing here today, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. So with that said, the next thing to mention here is revisions also take a long time. I make landing pages at our firm because we have to. If I tell the client, hey, you need landing pages, they're going to come back with some landing pages that don't convert, and the ads are not going to convert, and then they're going to blame us for the ads not converting. So I've learned early on in running this advertising firm, you have to make landing pages yourself to get the ads to work. Because anymore, you're not going to get by with not having landing pages. It's just the way that it is. Things are too competitive now, and it's not 2007 anymore. So with that said, we make landing pages for the client, and I can tell you from personal experience that clients themselves take forever to get back to us about landing pages. And I know everybody's going to say, I get back to our staff right away, and I give them the instructions they need right away. That's not a factor. Well, occasionally that's true, but I can tell you the default thing is we send stuff, please approve this landing page. And it'll be at least a few days before they respond. if not a week before they respond and say they're actually going to provide the edits. And a lot of times it's 3 freaking months before they actually get it back to us with the edits. I've made it a rule, it's so bad, that if you don't actually give us an approval on this damn landing page within like 10 days, it's going out whether you like it or not, because I'm not going to sit around not get results, because at the end of the day, you're still going to blame me for the results. I'd rather get chewed out for making a landing page that isn't quite to your standards in terms of like, technically correct, than a month later, you complaining about the results, and then I try to say it's because you wouldn't approve the page, and then put it back on me. It's still my fault, and then I lose the client. Everybody loses in that situation. So the best of the worst options is we run it anyway after a period of time and consider it approved anyway. But, clients will ask, they want to see the landing page before it goes live. And then they'll have edits. You make the edits. And then guess what happens? Then they want more edits. And then you make those edits. And then guess what? A lot of times they want more edits, which is why web design firms, a lot of times now, have for years, they'll put a limit on how many rounds of revisions you can have, because people do this. They'll go back and back and back. Why? Why do they do this? It's pretty clear. They want to be able to not work, like if they get requests to approve a website design, let's say, when they may be tired at the time of getting it and they don't want to really respond. So they'll say, oh, okay, it's fine. Then a few days later goes by, they have a bit more energy. They actually now are thinking, you know what? I really do want to look at that website. Then they're going to say, okay, I better ask them for some more revisions. Meanwhile, you already started to program that website. Now it's not so easy to make edits. Then you got to go back and you have to unravel a bunch, which, you shouldn't be allowed to do that. Once you, at least if I'm going to have a web design company, once you approve the design, we're not going backwards at all unless you're paying big money for a penalty. So that whole thing goes on. There's edits. There's usually multiple rounds of edits. The edits they provide, they want you to do, a lot of times it's not possible. / they want some weird quirky thing, or their instructions aren't clear. You can easily spend half of your freaking project time just in the revisions and the edits. And you could say certainly it's the agency's fault for providing a design that needs edits. That I will agree with you on. But even if you're good at design, like we are with our landing pages, you get lots of people that want small, tiny revisions. That word should say this. That image should be, cropped down a little bit more. Not everybody does this, but enough of them do that it, on the whole or on the average, it increases the time it takes to get the thing out by at least 50% because of this. Because some people, it takes forever to get the edits, which brings up the average, but still. What I could tell you from all of this, other than, you need to work with a good firm who's, halfway honest or as honest as possible, that will get you realistic times of how long things take and not try to sugarcoat things. If you need your website in September, start telling the firm that you're working with the deadline of your website is in March, okay? And be adamant about it. I will sign this contract today, but I absolutely need this website by March done. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Can you do that? And then they say, yes, I'm serious. I know these projects get delayed. I've done this thing before. Can you get it done by March? Make them confirm again. Okay? Then they're still going to be late, but at least they're going to have it done in July. It's going to be half as delayed as what it usually would be, but it's still way before the September due date that you really need, which, if your goal is just you need it done fast, in general, you don't have a certain hard date set in mind. Number one thing that's going to speed it up, to be frank and fair about all of this, and even though you're not going to like to hear this answer, it comes down to money. Money talks, baby. The more you pay, the faster they'll go. There's a whole saying that, you can have whatever you want when it comes to services. You can have quality, speed, and price. You can pick 2, but you don't get all 3. Okay? If you want it fast and good, it's going to cost more. Generally speaking, if you are working with a freelancer and you want it to go super quick, like 3 times as fast as what it normally would go, you need to double the fees. So if they were quoting you 20 grand, you need to pay 40 grand, and they'll get it, instead of it taking, 6 months, 2 months is what they tell you, and it takes 6 months. You can get it done in 3 weeks legitimately if you give them double the pay. Specifically, what you want to do with that is you'll say you're going to post pay for it. It's not prepay. Now, you may run into a trouble with some unethical people that will just rush through it to get the payday done, and they'll skip over stuff. But if you have a nice, legitimate firm that normally wants to do the right thing because you checked them out, they've been around, for decades, and you've talked to at least 3 of their past clients and asked them how they, which you want to do when you're talking about spending $50,000, $100,000 for a website. It's not a bad idea. Then you say, I need this done even quicker than what you mentioned. If I double what you're asking me here, can you guys get it done instead of 2 months? Can you get it done in 3 to 4 weeks? And they'll likely say yes, because for that matter, all the firm has to do is just push all the other client work to the side, as unethical as that is. Money talks. And they're going to work on your shit right away. And they're going to tell everybody else a story about, oh, this came up, that came up, we had a delay, whatever. But they're basically making an extra $20,000 pure profit. Where on a $20,000 job, they may have made $8 grand in profit. If you're going to give them another $20,000 in profit, you're making the job 4 to 5 times more profitable. Let's say four times more profitable, because there's not more labor hours involved in it. And then what I do, I can tell you how they're going to think probably. They're going to go to their staff and say, hey, you work on Saturdays and Sundays, we'll give you double pay. So if you're making $60 an hour, we'll give you $120. Just for this project specifically, and you'll get people to play ball because they love double pay. Making an extra $120 an hour over Saturday and Sunday for the next 4 Saturdays and Sundays. Now they have an extra 10 grand in their pocket that they didn't have before. People love that. I know, because I do it with our own staff. Once in a while, clients will say the same thing. We tell them it's going to be 30 to 60 days for a setup. I don't want to wait that long. And it takes that long because there's a lot of planning in just landing pages and building campaign structures along with it. It just takes time. They say, I want it done in 2 weeks. I'll pay you double. We'll get it done in 2 weeks because that's what I do. I tell my staff, I don't even keep the profit. I just give our staff double the rate of pay. Of course, it doubles profit technically, but along with that, I double the pay of our staff, and I get them to work on the weekends and they get it done. Versus, like pushing our client work to the side. The other option would be to push the client work to the side and keep all the extra money, but I don't do that. And for the most part, the other agency is probably not going to do that either. So, but anyway, if you want it done fast, money talks. And if you want it done in a week, you could triple the pay. I mean, it's all kind of relative. Money, you can do almost anything you want with money. People they go wrong when they expect things to happen without paying extra money. They expect the goodwill of how well they're liked. All that should mean something. At the end of the day, it's still business. It's money that motivates people. Yes, they like to deal with nice people. But if you really want somebody to do something and work extra hard, work harder than they normally would work for somebody else, you need to pay. If you want stuff to get done fast and you need somebody to consult you through it on your project, you're stuck on something, you're not sure what to do with this agency, whatever, you can always reach out to me for a 30-minute coaching call. I can go through all your stuff as well as all your ads and let you know why you're stuck with your ads in terms of scaling your revenue. That's what I do on our coaching calls, and I'm very successful at it with all the experience that I have running ad campaigns over the last 20 years. With that said, in addition to that, if you want somebody to just get you the results, do all the heavy lifting, you got more money than time, so to say, we can do all the work for you in getting you a phenomenal result on your ad campaigns, in addition to what you have or in general on a new campaign, and actually guarantee your results. If you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at my firm at guaranteedppc.com, and we can have a discussion about potentially working together itself. We don't work with just any client and offer the guarantee like that, but we can at least see if we can make that possible for you. As another thing, also, if we've already worked in your niche market, we've got 100 plus different niche markets that we've worked in. And if we've worked in your market, we could sell you outright the winning ads, the landing page templates, the campaign templates, and so forth that work for your niche market, to where you could copy paste those into your ad account and get the same results we're getting or have gotten in the past. And as long as you're in a different city or country than our client or past client, it's all fair game to use it. And we can tell you the results you're going to get with it up front. So if you want to shortcut your way to success, want to manage your own campaigns and don't like working with an ad agency per se, you should buy the template from us, because chances are we've already got much better results than you got now, and results you're looking for, of which we can tell you up front what you're going to get from it. So if you're interested in that, let me know. We got people using these templates for whole other businesses for that matter, subbing out work, selling leads. They got into selling product when they didn't know anything about it because they had the template. It worked. It's like having a business in a box for that matter, because running ads successfully for that business is the hardest part about it. So anyway, if you're interested in that, you can also let me know and can reach out to me at my firm as well. With all that said, to sum all this up, good website design companies, even the best of them, are going to embellish how long they think that it takes to get a website done, because they want your business at the end of the day, and they've just learned they're 100% brutally honest and they're super conservative about their estimates. Their closing rates, and they're not going to be able to close enough business to be a viable firm if they don't embellish. Plus, things come up. People spend too long with making their edits, provide too many edits. They ultimately, and there's no incentive for them to get it done quickly if there was a way. There's always a way to get things done quicker, but if there's no financial incentive, or in this case, penalty to not get it done on time or quickly, then it's not going to happen. Whereas your best bet is to pay extra if you need it done quickly, and or plan in advance. So if it takes an extra few months, you're in the clear already. So hopefully that makes sense. May not be the type of advice you want to hear if you're in a web design project where it's really taking a long time. But this is the reality. I understand the business and economic side of this, how things work in the real world, and what to do if you're in a bind and working with a website design agency and things are taking a long time. So with that said, I'll wrap it up with that. Thank you very much for watching as usual, and I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said landing pages was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.